Love might be the only thing in life that transcends all definitions. It has no concept of age, geographical distance, gender, or professional status. Everyone has the right to love and be loved. Just like the love story below of Hayes, a 24-year-old pop singer, and Solène, a 40-year-old mother with a 16-year-old daughter. Despite all the objections and criticism, they eventually found their way back to each other, living the life they desired. Solène, a woman nearing 40, has a teenage daughter. She is very thoughtful, knowing her daughter needs comfort and joy to enjoy her youth. So she allowed her to go camping alone, so her daughter and her friends could have a fun vacation at Eva's house, Solène's friend. Before leaving them, Daniel invited her to stay and hang out with the kids. However, not long after, as Solène was about to leave, he brought the kids back, saying his work had encountered problems, and he couldn't leave them with Eva anymore. Having no other choice, Solène had to take the 3 kids to Coachella, where Daniel had promised to take them. Upon arrival, the kids quickly found the places they wanted to visit, except for Solène, who was busy looking for the VIP lounge and the restroom. Fortunately, while sitting in the waiting area, she met a kind mother, who showed her the way to the restroom and VIP lounge. Even though she followed the directions, Solène accidentally entered Hayes' car, a guy from the band. She thought it was a public restroom. Embarrassed by the mistake, Solène quickly tried to leave, but Hayes stopped her. He wanted to invite her for a drink and to hang out for a bit. She politely responded. She also explained the reason why she came to Coachella. They hadn't been talking for long. When Hayes' manager arrived, he needed to prepare his outfit and everything else for the performance. Taking the opportunity, Solène slipped away. Before long, the signing event started. Luckily, because of this event, she was able to gather the 3 kids back together. After a short while, Hayes finally learned Solène's name, about her daughter and her job. Although he had only known Solène for a short time, Hayes' heart was quickly captivated by her. Because of this, during his show, he dedicated the song, Glow, to her. Knowing about his special attention, she felt so happy together with her kids. Solène fully enjoyed the night. At her 40th birthday party, many people attended to celebrate with her. She was very happy and delighted. Some were old friends, some were close friends, and some were her fans. Many groups of people joined the party, but every party has to end. She returned to focus on her work at her art gallery. To meet Solène, Hayes wasn't afraid to show up in public and find her gallery. He bought everything on display in the gallery. He didn't even ask about the price. He even accompanied her to another exhibition at her friend's gallery to see the artwork. They thought it would be difficult not to get noticed by fans, but Hayes handled it with ease. At the exhibition at Sarah's gallery, after viewing several works of art, Hayes and Solène started talking about their lives and why they had become the people they were. Hayes honestly expressed his admiration for her. He said he had never met anyone as captivating as her. There was something about her that he simply couldn't forget. His sincerity had somewhat touched Solène's heart. When Hayes mentioned he was a little hungry, she knew it would be hard for him to have a proper meal in a place filled with fans like this. So Solène invited him to her home. Of course, he agreed immediately. Unlike Daniel, Hayes really loved her house. He found it very warm and cozy. While helping her make sandwiches, Hayes opened up about his personal life, sharing stories about his parents. He accidentally came across a picture of Solène and her daughter, and Solène told him how much she loved her daughter. As they grew closer, Solène also shared about someone he was curious about, Daniel. While Solène was on a call with Izzy, her daughter, Hayes sat at the piano and played an impromptu melody. She loved the tune, and from liking the melody, Solène began liking Hayes. Of course, he had liked her for a long time, just waiting for this moment. Despite Solène trying to hold back her feelings, he couldn't stop himself from kissing her. Solène saw him off, and to ensure another meeting, he purposely left his watch behind. It was a gesture to tell her that they would meet again, and that his feelings for her were genuine. As the young singer left, Izzy came home, without her mother having to say anything. She immediately went upstairs, packed her things, and brought them down to the car. After dropping her daughter off at summer camp, Solène returned home and sat on the sofa to read a book. Suddenly, she received a message from Hayes. In the chat, he mentioned his upcoming show in New York. After some time pondering, finally, Solène decided to follow the call of her heart, boarding a flight to New York to see him. Unlike their previous meeting at her home, this time, as soon as she entered the room, the two embraced each other passionately. During the few days in New York, even though they only stayed in a room together, they were very happy, constantly spending time together, singing and playing music. She came up with many excuses to avoid joining his European tour with the band, but he managed to persuade her to make the trip more convenient. She took on the role of Hayes' art consultant. With this new position, instead of standing in the crowd to see him perform, now, Solène was allowed to stand backstage with the band, watching him from every camera angle. His loving gaze, his constant smile, those were all she could see while he performed. The days touring with Hayes were incredibly romantic. They were truly happy, joyful, and filled with laughter. However, their relationship remained a secret from Solène's daughter. Her daughter had no idea about it. though she felt a bit sad. When Hayes understood her reasons, he empathized with her. Solène's presence became familiar to everyone in the band, until the team returned to a retreat in the south of France. Solène's dreams of love were shattered by Hayes' friends. Perhaps she was just like Hannah, a 33-year-old woman, lured by Hayes' charm. And then, she would become just another fool. Without much argument, no matter how Hayes tried to explain, Solène had lost all hope in this love. She ended the tour and returned home. As she left, her heart was filled with laughter, with hopes of a budding love. But now, returning home alone, with a heart full of hurt. Once again, just like her ex-husband, Hayes had hurt her. As she entered her house, the painting she loved most from Sarah's gallery had been sent to her as a gift. Izzy was about to turn 17. To celebrate this joyful occasion, Daniel bought her a car. Although it wasn't brand new, it was a wonderful gift. Daniel advised her not to pursue any more relationships, for the sake of their child. Eva also informed her about their upcoming divorce. However, she wasn't too concerned about it. In the evening, Solène shared her story with her closest friend. The next morning, she received a notification. Hayes warned her to stay off social media. It turned out that their relationship had been exposed in the press. This breaking news suddenly made her famous. But most people were critical and disapproving. She went to the summer camp to see her daughter. She thought Izzy would be angry and tell her to end the relationship. But Izzy didn't react that way. Her daughter was only upset because she hadn't told her about it. But she didn't oppose it. In fact, Izzy encouraged and supported her. She told her to pursue her love. This gave Solène the courage to visit Hayes at his recording studio. Their love was rekindled from that very moment. To support their mother's relationship, the three kids decided to delete all their social media to avoid any negative influence. Thus, from a secret affair, Solène and Hayes transitioned to a public relationship. The two of them didn't hesitate to appear together, anywhere, even in front of the paparazzi. To ensure their daughter wasn't negatively affected, Daniel volunteered to take her to school. Before leaving, he didn't forget to say some bitter words to her. Daniel reminded her that he had warned her before. Hayes had to leave for a few days due to some issues with the band. Solène thought she could handle everything on her own, but she couldn't have imagined that her happiness would anger so many people. Even Izzy ran into big trouble at school. She didn't want to go home and asked her mom to drop her off at Daniel's house. Unable to endure it anymore, after avoiding social media for days, today Solène mustered up the courage to read the comments on the news articles. As soon as Hayes landed from his flight, Solène decided to break up with him and end their relationship. She didn't want her daughter to suffer any more pain. Unable to let go of this love, Hayes came to her house in the middle of the night. After some intimate moments, he made a decision. He asked her to wait for him for 5 years. By then, Izzy would be grown and living a good life, and he would just be a low-profile singer that no one paid attention to. Their love could continue then. They both agreed to this, but with the condition that if happiness came sooner, they should embrace it. Before leaving, just like the first time, Hayes left his watch at her house. The 5 years passed faster than expected. Hayes was still beloved and admired by many. Izzy had grown into a beautiful young woman with a new life in Chicago. Meanwhile, Solène had fully focused on her gallery business. However, deep down, no one had replaced Hayes in her heart. As always, Solène went to work. Suddenly, she heard a familiar voice. It turned out Hayes had returned, back to fulfill the promise he made 5 years ago. And that was how the story ended. Thank you for watching. A subscription would be a huge motivation for me to keep creating. Goodbye and see you again.